Welcome. Today, we're exploring the incredible connection between two absolute giants of Indian history. Now, they were separated by 5 whole centuries, but you'll see they were united in a single powerful cause, the fight for social justice.
So let's just dive right in with a question that honestly sounds a bit like a riddle, right? On one side, you have a spiritual revolutionary who used poetry to challenge an entire society. And on the other, a legal and political titan who literally wrote the rulebook. How on earth do those two paths connect?
I mean, on the surface, they seem like they're from different planets. Kabir, the weaver poet from medieval India, and Dr. Ambedkar, the modern lawmaker. But, as you can see here, their paths didn't just cross. They converged on this one incredibly powerful goal of taking apart an unjust social system.
Yeah, their methods were completely different and they were separated by 500 years of history. But the fight? The fight was exactly the same. Both of these men dedicated their entire lives to taking on a society that was just fractured by caste and deep, deep inequality.
This right here, this was the common enemy. It was a social structure that judged you not by who you were or what you could do, but by the pure lottery of your birth. And that was the system that both of these men, in their own time, set out to change. All right, so let's start with our first figure, Kabir. Let's look at how he fought this, moral and spiritual revolution using nothing but the power of his words. He didn't have laws, he didn't have political power, his only weapon was the truth, and he delivered it in verses that everyday people could actually understand.
You have to understand, this simple little couplet, this was an absolutely radical act of defiance back then. In a society that was obsessed with your family line and your caste, Kabir just comes out and says, nope, a person's real value is in their wisdom, not their social rank. It was a direct hit on the very foundation of the caste system.
So here's the crucial point. Kabir was calling for a total mind shift. He was basically saying, hey, being born a Brahmin doesn't automatically make you better, and being born a weaver like me doesn't make you worse. Your real identity, well, that's something you build yourself through your character and your knowledge. And this one, wow, it just brilliantly shows his attack on empty religious rituals. And he wasn't picking sides. He applied this to all faiths. He argued that real devotion is something you feel inside, a quiet connection. It's not about putting on a loud show for everyone else. For Kabir, God wasn't in some stone temple or mosque. God was inside the human heart.
Okay, now let's hit fast forward and jump 500 years into the future to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was staring down the very same social evils, but he fought the battle on a totally different field, not with poetry, but with the cold, hard power of law, politics, and real structural change.
See, Ambedkar knew that a system as deep-rooted as caste couldn't just be talked away. No, it needed a full-on structural assault. So his strategy had all these different parts working together, using education to empower people, using the law to force equality, using social movements to build energy, and using politics to actually drive the change.
And maybe his single most powerful legal weapon is captured in this one number, Article 17 of the Indian Constitution. This one article legally abolished the practice of untouchability, a really brutal system of social segregation. By making it a crime, Dr. Ambedkar and the Constituent Assembly delivered a massive blow against centuries of oppression. It was a truly revolutionary moment.
This quote, man, it just gets right to the heart of what he believed. For Dr. Ambedkar, getting political freedom from the British wasn't the finish line. Not at all. It was the starting gun. It was the chance to finally start the real work, creating a society free from its own injustices.
So, okay. We've got the poet and the lawmaker, the moralist, and the guy who wrote the Constitution. But when you look past their methods, what you find is that their core beliefs were just remarkably and powerfully in sync.
This table just lays it out so perfectly. Kabir attacked caste as a spiritual mistake. Ambedkar fought to destroy it with laws. Kabir called out religious hypocrisy. Ambedkar demanded that the system itself be reformed. Different methods for sure, but the goal? It was identical. A society where every single person is treated with equality and dignity, whether that dignity comes from a spiritual awakening or is guaranteed by your constitutional rights.
So what happens when we put these two legacies together? Well, you don't get a contradiction. You get a much more complete, much more powerful vision for what social justice can actually look like. And this right here is the key takeaway. Think about it. You can have the best laws in the world, but if people's hearts and minds are still full of prejudice, then injustice is going to stick around. On the flip side, you can have a moral awakening, but if there aren't any legal protections, the most vulnerable people are still at risk. You need both.
And this is their combined legacy. It's beautiful, really. Kabir gives us the words to challenge our own biases to kind of build a national conscience. And Dr. Ambedkar gives us the framework, the actual legal and political tools to build a just structure. Put them together, and you've got this uniquely Indian blueprint for a truly equal and democratic society.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final thought. In a world that's still fighting against inequality, prejudice, and injustice every single day, how can this twin philosophy, the call for a change of heart and the demand for a change in the law, how can that guide the fight for justice in our own time?